Hello, Trade Pros. It's Victoria from Trade Pro Academy, and today we're going to be talking to you about support and resistance levels. Now, we're not going to be talking about support and resistance levels based on market structure and price action, but rather volume, support, and resistance. Now, you may have seen a lot of volume down at the bottom of charts, such as we have down here, these black candles, and they represent the volume at a certain point in time. However, today we're going to be talking to you about the vertical volume profiles you see on the sides here and how we can draw support and resistance based on those. Now, at Trade Pro, we've talked a lot about the volume profile. We've done many YouTube videos on it. And today we're going to continue in that step and show you how we draw support and resistance based on the volume profile in both Sierra charts and on TradingView. Now, first I want to show you price action, support, and resistance levels. You can see I've already drawn them based on these green rectangles. They adhere pretty well to price action once they come into a level that either holds as support or resistance depending on the direction it's coming from. Now, we could take these horizontal green boxes and translate them into volume, support, and resistances. So I'm going to show you a blank chart and we'll get started from there. Now, before we do a deep dive into this, we'll be talking about the main volume profiles that we do like to use. This is a 10-tick chart on the ES right here on the S&P 500. If we shift it to a 5-tick to see a little more price action, we'll be talking about the 5-day volume profile and also the 1-day, and we'll be talking about supports and resistance zones, also areas of attraction, especially with the aid of the 5-day. So the current day session is a good tool as well, but as price changes, so does the current session a lot, and also the 5-day. So you have to wait a certain amount of time before it really becomes effective on the daily volume profile here. So into the afternoon session, you can find some support resistance based on the daily, but also we like to use the Globex session volume profile. The Globex session just being the 1-day overnight volume profile. Now, you can map these automatically on Sierra charts. There's studies for that. We're not going to get too much into it. But again, they change on their own, so you might have to manually change some of these zones as you go. Maybe not so much on the 5-day, but if you're using the intraday, the 1-day, you may have to do some alterations to those. So we're going to be talking about a few zones that you have to keep in mind first, and those are going to be the POC, the value area high, and the value area low. So those three levels, the POC being the point of control, are very, very important areas. The POC being the most volume traded at that level during that session, whatever time frame you're using, and the value area high and value area low being strong areas of support and resistance. Based on just this 5-day volume profile, as we'll start off with first and then go into the daily even and the Globex here, you'll see that you have areas of larger volume. These are the high volume nodes where a lot of volume was traded during the past 5 days. So you can see right here on the S&P, it's in between these 30s and 22s or so before we get the divot. Then that would be construed as a lower volume node here, but then we get another peak between this value area high right here, big support level, and these 14s where you get another low volume node. Now again, another high volume node appears here between the 13s or so all the way down into the 06s where volume just drops off. In the last 5 days, nothing really traded down here, it seems. And then we get our POC, largest volume area within the first 5 days, and that is a huge volume node down there. And then all the way down here, another volume node, another large volume node, and then all the way down here, the value area low, very, very far away. So we're just going to be using the current price action here to draw some levels first. And what we could see is these huge volume areas can be considered areas of consolidation. Now, when you get into a lower volume node right here, a low volume node, where the volume kind of drops off at a certain price, that is a pretty strong area of support. Now, in between these large volume areas right here, you can draw potential consolidation boxes and support and resistances. Now, what we like to do here is we'll take the rectangle tool, and where that low volume node starts to form right around this area right here, you can draw a support level. You see how it comes into consolidation with this low volume node once volume starts to die off, and that's where price has tested twice now. Now what we could do is just simply right-click, copy and move drawing, and we'll find the other areas. So right here again, another low volume node. This is going to be where a support resistance band lies, just where the volume starts to taper off. Again, you could do the same with the next low volume node at the top here. But also Doing it with the high volume nodes where there's really high concentration of volume will be a pretty strong support or resistance band. Now you can see it was respected throughout the session here based on the 5-day, and then again up here. Now these areas could be pretty close together, pretty large boxes, so you can just thin them out and adjust them to your liking. So right here, we could say that volume begins to taper off, so we only want to locate this area right here. Again, same thing up here. You can see that volume begins to taper off, so maybe right here. And then we copy move this drawing, there's another one right about here. So if they're pretty close, they may not add too much value to your trading levels, but they are good to keep in mind. Now again, if we copy and move this drawing, you can see a pretty high volume area right here based on the 5-day, and then the low volume node right where price begins to disappear based on volume right around this area, which held as well. Now to the downside, you could draw one potentially right around this area and all the way down where the POC is. So there's going to be a really strong support structure around this area where volume just dies out, and then support structure down here if price continues to drop lower. Now there's going to be a large area to consider right in this POC, right where all the volume or the majority of the volume traded throughout the 5 days. That was a simple go around at how you use them for support and resistance drawing, but they could also be used as levels of attraction. So what does that mean? Once we clear some of these low volume nodes, price gets attracted to the volume, so the next high volume node area. So assuming that we manage to clear these lows, these previous day lows at these 04s and drop lower, what we could see is something of this nature. So assuming price drops here, comes into here, this area manages to break, and at this point price is kind of lost, no real volume traded here, gets attracted to the higher volume areas. So that's the same to the upside too. That's why right here, where the low volume node happened, you can see price rejection comes back into an area of high volume where a lot of volume traded throughout the session. Now what we could see is price comes up here into this low volume node that we drew based on this rectangle and then pull up into the high volume area where a lot of consolidation happened throughout the session. Now a trader could use this on the daily as well, but remember on the daily, you need a little more price action to form before you start drawing these, otherwise there could be a lot of movement. That's why we like to use the evening Globex session to confirm some of this 5-day volume profile, support and resistance, and we could just draw our lines and extend them throughout that session and see if they match up to what we see over the 5-day. Now, if we extend this one right here, extend it the other way, so you can see it comes into consolidation with a low volume area right where price begins to drop off, not to the tick, but very close. And now if we extend this one again, and then comes into right where volume begins to drop off, right where price held support and resistance. Now, the interesting thing here is that when you draw the support and resistance, based on the volume profile, it really comes into consolidation with a lot of the price action. So you see where peaks happen and price rejection happens. That is just based off volume profile, support and resistance, and you can see price action adheres to that as well. Moving on, if we look throughout this day session, you can see a lot of the low volume nodes and high volume nodes adhere to the day session as well as the 5-day and also the Globex session. So when you combine the three and you get those really strong support and resistance areas that come into confluence with the price action, you get really good levels to trade off. Of course, there's more to it than just picking levels and selling and buying blindly just because you have a box there. But this is just the first step of many into getting that ideal visual charting setup. You can see how price kind of moves away, rejects the low volume, comes back into the high volume, rejects the low volume at the top of this volume node, and then comes back into the high volume again. Once we get those clear breaks of those low volume nodes that hold the support and resistance, guess what? We're going to the next high volume node. Now, you can draw this on TradingView as well pretty easily. So if we bring this down, what I like to do on TradingView is a indicator actually called the fixed range. So what's great about the fixed range is that you can grab a range at which the volume profile is shaped. So if I grab this low, grab it to this high, so from December 24th all the way to May 1st, it'll draw a pretty neat volume profile based on that session. So you can draw it for the whole session from January 1st all the way up to the current price. So if we grab that, we'll find where the beginning of January is. So January 2nd right here, you can see where the majority of the volume profile happened. Now we have this volume profile here to the side on the right-hand side. However, it just tells you what the current visual volume profile is. So if you move it out a little more, you'll see it moves. So this fixed volume profile is a really neat tool. So if we go ahead and just hide this volume profile for the time being, and we're looking only at this yearly's volume profile right here. So you can see where the POC is, and it's held as support and resistance many, many times and an area of consolidation right at these 2890s or so. You can see a lot of the volume occurred between 2760 and 2975. So it's a huge area to play off. Now, what you could do is limit it, make it a little smaller, or you can just change the settings here. We go into settings, and we increase the row size, let's say to 40, and then increase this slightly so you get a better image of what's going on. So when we increase the row size right here, you can increase it a little more even. So let's go to 60 here. So you'll see you get a lot more intricacy in the volume profile, and you can really pan out where the high volume nodes are, where the low volume nodes are, and where potential support and resistances are. So if we grab this rectangle tool right here, and we plot obviously this area right here being the first area, and we just clone this and move it around, see that clone perfectly up into these high volume areas. We clone this one, move it just slightly into this higher volume area. Again, clone this, grab it, pull it down, pull it into these high volume areas, and you can find your support and resistance levels on a larger time frame based on this fixed volume profile. This is a very, very interesting tool. It tells you where the majority of volume is traded based on the price, so we like to use it a lot in our morning updates and seeing where potential support and resistance levels may lie just based on volume. That's kind of what we had here for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. There are more examples in our volume profile YouTube video. This was just to show you how to draw them, and you can play off them as well. Remember what I said, once it breaks that low volume node structure, the next level it's going to look for is a high volume area. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is another tool you can bring to your trading, whether it's swing trading or day trading futures, and really take advantage of these markets. This is Victor from TRADEPRO Academy, and I hope everyone really enjoyed this video. Drop a like down below, comment whatever you want to see next, ring that little bell to notify you when we do go live, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.